The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Seattle loft like it was trying to break in, mirroring the chaos I'd been dodging for weeks. I stood there, coffee mug halfway to my lips, when the buzzer sliced through the downpour's roar, uninvited and insistent. Through the intercom's grainy feed, Riley's face appeared, soaked to the bone, his broad shoulders slumped under the weight of a duffel bag that looked like it carried more than clothes. "Jackson," he said, voice cracking like thunder rolling in from Puget Sound. I didn't know who else to call. "She's gone. Everything's gone." I froze, the mug burning my palm, because Riley, my straight-as-an-arrow brother-in-law, the guy who'd married my sister Harper 4 years ago in a sun-drenched ceremony on Whidbey Island, was the last person I'd expected to show up at my door like a drowned ghost. We'd never been close. Family ties pulled us into the same orbit at holidays and barbecues, but his easy grin and her laughter had always formed a world I watched from the edges, nursing my own secrets in the shadows of those gatherings. He was the all-American type, former college quarterback from Spokane, now a project manager for some tech firm in Bellevue, with a jawline that could cut glass and ice the color of storm-tossed waves. Straight, married, uncomplicated. Or so I'd thought. The elevator dinged open on my floor, and there he was, dripping onto the industrial concrete of the hallway, his gray Henley clinging to every ridge of muscle I'd pretended not to notice over the years. Water pooled at his feet, and he managed a half-smile that didn't reach those eyes, the ones that now looked hollowed out by whatever storm had uprooted him. "Jesus, Riley! Come in before you flood the hall." He stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind him like a seal on a pact neither of us understood yet. My place was a converted warehouse space in Capitol Hill, all exposed brick and mismatched furniture scavenged from estate sales, a queen bed tucked behind a sliding barn door, a kitchen island scarred from late-night carving sessions when the words wouldn't come. I was a freelance copywriter by day, scribbling ad copy for craft breweries and indie bands, but at night, I poured myself into half-finished short stories about men who loved in the quiet spaces between raindrops. No one read them. No one needed to. They were mine, raw and unfiltered, much like the ache I'd carried since coming out to my family at 22. Harper had hugged me tight, Mom had baked pies until the kitchen overflowed, but Dad... Well, he'd nodded and changed the subject to the Mariners' pitching rotation. Acceptance, American style, polite, distant, functional. Riley dropped his bag by the door and ran a hand through his sodden blonde hair, sending droplets scattering like confetti from a funeral. "I hate to impose, man. But Harper. She kicked me out. Said I needed to figure my shit out before I dragged her down with it." I set the mug down, the coffee sloshing over the rim, and gestured to the couch, a sagging leather thing I'd scored off Craigslist. "Sit. I'll grab a towel. And talk to me. What the hell happened?" He sank into the cushions, elbows on knees, staring at the floor as if it held the answers. I tossed him a towel from the bathroom, the one with faded Seahawks embroidery, and he pressed it to his face like a shield. When he lowered it, his voice was low, threaded with the gravel of exhaustion. "It's everything. The job's killing me, deadlines, layoffs looming like a guillotine." Then the fight started. Little things at first. How I work too late. How I'm always distracted. Last night, it exploded. She found texts from a coworker. "Nothing happened, Jax. Swear on my life." But she doesn't believe me anymore. Texts. The word hung there, innocuous yet loaded, and I felt a pang I couldn't name. Not jealousy, God, no. But something sharper, like the first cut of understanding that even the sturdiest bridges could crumble. Harper was my big sister, the one who'd braided my hair as a kid and defended me to our cousins who called me Fairy Boy at Thanksgiving. She'd always seen the best in Riley, painted him as the steady rock in her whirlwind life as a graphic designer chasing gigs in Portland. Now, here he was, cracked and leaking. I leaned against the island, arms crossed to steady myself. "You can stay here. As long as you need. Guest room's got fresh sheets, well, freshish." His head snapped up, gratitude flooding those blue eyes, but undercut by something raw, vulnerable. "You sure?" I mean, we're not. You know, tight. And with everything, your lifestyle, I don't want to make things weird. Lifestyle. The word landed like a stone in still water, ripples of old defenses rising in my chest. I'd heard it before, tossed casually like a label on a thrift store shirt. But from him, it stung differently, laced with his own unraveling. Riley, it's a couch or a bed. Not a minefield. And for the record, it's just my life. He nodded, rubbing the towel over his neck, the motion pulling his shirt tighter across his chest. I turned away, busying myself with the kettle, the whistle building like tension in a scene I hadn't scripted. We talked in fits and starts after that, surface stuff, the mariner's slump, the new food truck pod on Pike Street. He showered while I ordered Thai from down the block, the steam from the bathroom door carrying hints of his cedarwood soap, mingling with the Pad See-Use garlic haze. Dinner was awkward, forks scraping plates in the dim glow of string lights I'd hung last Christmas, alone. So, he said finally, pushing noodles around like they held secrets. What's new with you? Still writing those stories? I nearly choked on a spring roll. How did he know? Harper must have let it slip, one of those sisterly updates over wine. Yeah. Scraps, mostly. Nothing publishable. He leaned back, towel-dried hair curling at the ends, looking more boyish than the man who'd vowed forever under an arbor of wild roses. You should finish one. Harper says you're good. Real good. Heat crept up my neck, not from the spice. Compliments from him felt foreign, like borrowing a stranger's coat, warm but ill-fitting. Maybe someday. When life's not a dumpster fire. He laughed, a low rumble that echoed off the bricks, and for a moment, the rain outside softened to a murmur. We cleared the plates together, shoulders brushing in the narrow kitchen, sparks of static from the drying air. As he headed to the guest room, a narrow space with a futon and posters of Elliott Bay sunsets, I paused in the doorway. Riley. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out. One rain at a time. His hand lingered on the frame, inches from mine, and in that suspended breath, I saw it, the flicker of something unspoken, a question in his eyes that mirrored my own buried hopes. Thanks, Jax. For real. The door clicked shut, and I retreated to my room, the city's hum filtering through the glass like a lullaby laced with longing. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with images of him, wet hair, shadowed jaw, the weight of his gaze, and I woke to the patter of dawn rain, wondering if I'd just invited a hurricane inside. Days blurred into a rhythm neither of us named. Mornings, he'd brew coffee strong enough to strip paint, black and steaming, while I scrolled freelance gigs on my laptop, the loft filling with the scent of grounds and wet earth from the open window. He'd leave for work in Bellevue, tie knotted too tight, promising updates on the job hunt if things soured. Evenings, we'd collide back home, him with takeout from that hole-in-the-wall faux spot on Broadway, me with dog-eared paperbacks from Elliott Bay Book Company. Conversation flowed easier, skirting the edges of his marriage wreckage. He vented about Harper's silences, the way she'd pack her sketchbooks and vanish to her studio for hours, leaving him adrift in their Queen and Row house. One night, after a double IPA from Cloudburst had loosened his tongue, he sprawled on the couch, feet kicked up on the ottoman. You ever feel like you're performing? Like, every day you're on stage, but no one's clapping. I sat across from him, nursing my own bottle, the label peeling under my thumb. The question hit close, too close, the masks I'd worn at family dinners, the casual deflections when dates fizzled into ghosting. All the time. Especially in this city. Seattle's got that vibe, everyone's got their indie soundtrack playing, but inside, it's just static. He nodded, eyes distant, then met mine with an intensity that pinned me. Harper used to say you were the deep one. The one who sees through the bullshit. My pulse kicked up, a traitorous drum. She exaggerates. I'm just observant. That night, as thunder rattled the panes, I heard him pacing the guest room, floorboards creaking like confessions withheld. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, replaying the brush of his arm against mine earlier, over the sink. Accidental. Innocent. But in the dark, innocence had a way of twisting into questions I dared not voice. By week's end, the air between us thickened, charged like the atmosphere before a squall. He started lingering after dinner, helping with dishes until suds dotted his forearms, stories spilling out, his childhood in Eastern Washington, apple orchards and Little League fields, the scholarship that carried him to UW on a football ride. I shared fragments of mine, the summer I spent in San Francisco after college, chasing a boy with a poet's tongue and a heart like fractured glass, the freelance grind that kept me tethered to this loft, bills stacking like unanswered emails. "You're brave, Jax," he said one evening, as we walked back from a showing of some indie flick at the SIFF cinema, rain misting our jackets. "Putting it all out there. Loving who you love." The words landed soft, but they stirred the silt at the bottom of my chest. Brave. Or foolish. I'd loved quietly for years, flings in dimly lit bars on Capitol Hill, men who vanished like fog off the sound. None had stuck, none had seen the parts of me I hid behind sarcasm and solitude. And now, here was Riley, straight and shattered, offering glimpses of understanding that felt like lifelines tossed into choppy waters. We reached the building, the lobby's fluorescent buzz greeting us like an old friend. In the elevator, shoulders inches apart, he turned. "I don't know how to thank you. For this. For not making me feel like a failure." "You don't," I murmured, throat tight. "You're not." The door slid open, and we stepped into the hall, the silence stretching like a held breath. That night, sleep evaded me again, the rain's tattoo on the roof a counterpoint to my racing thoughts. What was this pull, this gravity drawing me toward him? He was family, by marriage frayed at the edges. He was straight, a label as solid as the Cascades. But in the quiet hours, labels blurred, and what remained was the echo of his voice, the warmth of his presence, seeping into the cracks I'd long ignored. Little did I know, the real storm was just gathering force. The following Monday, the loft felt smaller, the walls pressing in with the weight of unspoken routines. Riley's alarm pierced the pre-dawn gloom at 5:45, a relentless beep that yanked me from dreams laced with his silhouette against rainy streets. I'd stumble out in boxers and a faded Husky's tee, rubbing sleep from my eyes, to find him already at the counter, protein shake whirring in the blender like a small tornado. "Morning, sunshine," he'd quip, sliding a mug my way, cream, no sugar, just how I liked it, before vanishing into the bathroom for his ritual of push-ups and planks that echoed through the pipes. I envied the discipline, the way he armored himself for the corporate grind. My days unfolded in pajamas, laptop balanced on knees as I hammered out taglines for a vegan leather startup in Ballard, cruelty-free swagger. Emails pinged with revisions, each one a tiny erosion of my resolve, but the freelance life afforded freedoms he lacked, naps on the fire escape, walks along the Burke-Gilman Trail where joggers blurred past like ghosts in neon. He'd return by 7, tie loosened, venting about clusterfucks at the office, a client from Silicon Valley demanding miracles on a shoestring, colleagues circling like vultures over the rumor mill. "Tech's a meat grinder, Jax. Chew you up, spit you out." We'd crack open session IPAs from Reuben's Brews, the bitterness cutting through the takeout steam, falafel wraps from Alki one night, Bon Mi from BA Bar the next. Conversation deepened, veering from sports stats to the ache of unmet expectations. He confessed how marriage had sanded down his edges, turned their shared dreams, a cabin in the Olympics, kids with Harper's curls, into deferred promises. "You're a good listener," he said one Tuesday, sprawled on the rug after a pickup basketball game at Cal Anderson Park, his tank top damp with sweat, chest rising and falling in rhythm with the ceiling fan. "Harper always said you get people. See the layers." Layers. The word conjured images of him peeling back, revealing the man beneath the quarterback facade. I wanted to tell him I saw too much already, the way his laugh lines crinkled when he teased me about my hipster record collection, a stack of vinyl from Easy Street that included everything from Nirvana to Sam Smith. But I swallowed it, opting for deflection. Blame the therapist bills. Taught me to nod and pour wine. Therapy. I'd started after a bad breakup 2 years back, with a guy named Theo who'd ghosted me mid-move, leaving boxes of his graphic novels cluttering my old apartment in Fremont. Sessions in a Belltown office with posters of Puget Sound sunrises helped unpack the abandonment echoes from Dad's quiet disapproval, but they hadn't prepared me for this, for Riley's proximity, his casual touches that lingered a beat too long, a hand on my shoulder during a Mariners game on TV, fingers brushing mine over the remote. By midweek, the tension simmered beneath domestic banalities. He borrowed my laundry detergent, the eucalyptus scent clinging to his shirts like a signature. I caught myself folding his polos with care, inhaling the mix of his cologne and the city's damp air. One evening, as fog rolled in from the bay, blanketing the skyline in grey, he knocked on my bedroom door, barefoot, in joggers that hung low on his hips, a script of some Nolan flick in hand. Movie night. His grin was boyish, disarming. Figured we could use a break from reality. We settled on the couch, the opening credits flickering like distant lightning. Inception's dream layers mirrored our own unspoken mazes, and halfway through, with Cobb's totem spinning, his head lolled onto my shoulder. Warmth radiated from him, steady as a hearth, and I froze, heart hammering against my ribs. His breath ghosted my neck, even and deep, stirring something primal, forbidden. I could have shifted away, blamed the beer, but I didn't. I let the moment stretch, the film score swelling like the tide in my veins. He stirred later, mumbling an apology as credits rolled, but his eyes held mine a fraction too long, pupils dark in the TV's afterglow. Weird dream, he said, voice husky. Felt real. Real. The word echoed as he retreated, leaving me adrift on the cushions, the loft silence amplifying my pulse. That night, I wrote feverishly, pages of a story about two men trapped in a house of mirrors, reflections blurring truth and desire. Words poured out, the curve of a jaw under lamplight, the hesitant press of a palm. By dawn, the file was 10,000 characters, raw and unedited, a confession disguised as fiction. Thursday brought a curveball. Harper called. I was mid-sip of matcha from Slate when my phone buzzed, her name flashing like a warning flare. Riley was at a site visit in Tacoma, so I answered alone, the loft's high ceilings making her voice echo hollow. Jax? How's he holding up? Her tone was steel wrapped in silk, the designer in her always framing emotions like layouts. I paced to the window, watching Ferry slice through the sound's chop. Hanging in. Eating my groceries, mostly. You okay? Silence stretched, broken by her sigh. No. But that's not why I'm calling. He tell you about the texts? Yeah. I kept it neutral, tracing condensation trails on the glass. He swears it's nothing. Another pause, heavier. It wasn't just texts, Jax. There was a kiss. At the office holiday thing last December. Booze, mistletoe bullshit. I forgave it then, but now. It's like the trust's a house of cards. A kiss. The revelation landed like a gut punch, not for jealousy, never that, but for the fracture it revealed in him, in them. Riley, the paragon, flawed and human. People screw up, Harp. Doesn't make him a monster. I know. Her voice cracked, a rare fissure. But I need space. Tell him. Tell him I love him, but I can't right now. I promised I would, hanging up as rain lashed the panes anew. When Riley returned, mud-caking his boots from the job site, I delivered the message over reheated ramen, watching his face crumple like wet paper. He sank onto a stool, head in hands, shoulders shaking, not sobs, but the quiet heave of a dam straining. I'm losing her, Jax. Everything I built. Gone. I moved without thinking, hand on his back, circles meant to soothe but igniting sparks along my skin. You're not lost. Not yet. He looked up then, eyes red-rimmed, searching mine with a desperation that stripped us bare. What if I am? What if this is who I am, I'm a fuck-up who can't hold on to anything? The vulnerability cracked something in me, a floodgate. Then you're human. Like the rest of us. Time suspended, his gaze dropping to my lips, then snapping away. He pulled back, muttering thanks, fleeing to the shower. I stood there, steam from the ramen cooling, the air thick with what ifs. Dinner was silent after that, chopsticks clinking like Morse code. Bed called early, but sleep mocked me, visions of his mouth on another's, a faceless co-worker, lips brushing in holiday haze, twisting envy into empathy, desire into doubt. Friday dawned crisp, a rare break in the clouds, and Riley suggested a hike to escape the wait. We drove to Discovery Park, the Subaru's radio tuned to KEXB's Indie Shuffle, windows down to let salt air whip through. Trails wound through old-growth forest, ferns brushing our calves, the sound glimpsed in sapphire flashes. He walked ahead at first, strides long and purposeful, but slowed to match mine, our banter light, spotting a bald eagle wheeling overhead, debating the merits of flannel versus tech fleece. At the lighthouse, perched on cliffs where waves crashed like applause, we sat on weathered driftwood, sandwiches from Macrina Bakery unwrapped. The sun warmed our faces, gilding his stubble, and he turned to me, expression unguarded. Being here with you. It's the first time in months I haven't felt like I'm drowning. My chest tightened, words failing as I met his gaze. Good. You deserve that. A beat, then his hand covered mine, brief, electric, gone before I could process. Thanks to you. The drive home buzzed with unspoken energy, traffic on I-05 a sluggish river. Back in the loft, unpacking gear, his fingers grazed my wrist lingering over a water bottle. Apology flickered in his eyes, but neither acknowledged it. Dinner was pizza from Serious Pie, dough chewy and charred, conversation circling back to safer shores, his high school glory days, my failed attempt at stand-up at the rendezvous. As night fell, city lights twinkling like distant fires, he paused in the hall. Jax. About earlier. I didn't mean. It's fine, I cut in, too quick. Friends, right? Right. But his smile faltered, and as doors closed, the word hung hollow. In bed, I traced patterns on the sheets, the day's touches replaying like a loop. Friends. The lie settled heavy, a prelude to the unraveling ahead. Week 2 dawned with a ferocity that matched the knot in my gut. The loft, once a sanctuary of solitude, now pulsed with Riley's presence, his razor on the sink's edge, a stray sock under the coffee table, the faint imprint of his body on the guest futon. I woke to the sizzle of eggs in the kitchen, his humming a gravelly off-key rendition of some Springsteen track, Thunder Road, that spoke of escape and open highways. Seattle's skyline loomed grey through the blinds, but inside, warmth bloomed from the stove's heat. Made breakfast, he announced, plating scrambled with chives and toast slathered in butter from the co-op on 15th, figured we could use fuel. Job interview today, downtown, at that startup in Pioneer Square. I slid onto a stool, fork-piercing yoke, the domesticity surreal. Nail it. What's the gig? UX design lead. Pays better than the grind I'm in. His eyes lit with a spark I hadn't seen since his wedding toast, raising a glass to Forever Starts Now. Now, Forever felt fragile, and as he knotted his tie, a navy silk against a crisp white shirt, I fought the urge to straighten it, to smooth the fabric over his chest. He left with a fist bump, the door's thud echoing my solitude. I dove into work, pitching a campaign for a queer-owned coffee roaster in Georgetown, brewed with pride, sipped with soul. Words flowed easier with him gone, unburdened by the gravitational pull. But by noon, texts pinged him from the ferry to Bainbridge for a lunch scout, nailed the pitch. Beers later. My thumbs hovered, replying hell yes with emojis I rarely used, a mask of casual. Afternoon blurred in edits, sunlight slanting golden across the bricks, gilding dust motes like fireflies. When he returned, triumphant with a callback email on his phone, we celebrated at the Pine Box, that Gothic bar in a converted chapel, pew scarred from sermons long past. Craft ales flowed, his a hazy IPA, mine a sour ghost that puckered my lips, and stories tumbled out under stained glass glow. Remember that time at Lake Chelan, he said, leaning elbows on the scarred oak bar, foam clinging to his upper lip. You and Harper tubing, me capsizing like an idiot. Thought I'd drown in 2 feet of water. I laughed, the memory sharp, summer sun on water, my sister's shrieks, his flailing arms splashing us all. You did look ridiculous. But you owned it. Always have. His gaze held mine, steady, then dropped to his pint. Lately, though. Feels like I'm treading water in the deep end. The admission hung, the chapel's hush amplifying it. I wanted to reach across, bridge the gap, but the bartender's call for last orders shattered the spell. We walked home through Capitol Hill's neon haze, street lamps pooling light on wet pavement, laughter bubbling as we dodged puddles like kids. At the door, keys jingling, he clapped my back, firm, lingering. "You're saving me, Jax. Don't know what I'd do without this." Sleep claimed me easy that night, dreams soft-edged, but Saturday shattered the peace. Harper showed up unannounced, mid-morning, her Prius purring to a stop outside. I buzzed her up, heart sinking as her knock rattled the door, 3 sharp raps, like judgment. She breezed in, curls pinned back, yoga pants and a hoodie from her studio days, carrying a canvas tote bulging with groceries. "Peace offering," she said, thrusting it at me, organic kale, artisanal bread, the Harper special. But her eye scanned the space, hunting traces of him. "He's out. Gym, then coffee run." I unpacked the bag, stalling, the air thick with sibling tension. She sank onto the couch, hugging a pillow like armor. How is he, really? Wounded. But fighting. I brewed tea, chamomile, her favorite, and sat across, knees brushing the table. "Harp, talk to me. What's the endgame?" Tears welled, uncharacteristic for the woman who'd once backpacked the Appalachian Trail solo. "I don't know. Love him, God, I do. But the lies. They erode. And now, staying here, with you. It feels like I'm losing him to something else. Something else." The phrase twisted like a knife, implication slicing deep. He's crashing on my couch, not joining a cult. We're just getting through. Her gaze sharpened, sister intuition flaring. "Be careful, Jax. He's straight. Hurting. That mix is dynamite. Dynamite." The warning echoed as she left, hugging me tight in the hall, her scent of lavender and turpentine lingering. Riley returned minutes later, lattes in hand, oat milk for me, almond for him, grinning oblivious. Brought reinforcements. Movie marathon. We opted for the prestige, Nolan's tangle of illusions fitting our veiled dance. Halfway through, as Borden's secrets unraveled, his thigh pressed mine on the couch, solid, warm. Neither moved. The film's twist hit, and he exhaled sharp. Like life. Mirrors everywhere, no truth. Truth. I turned, our faces inches apart, breaths mingling. Sometimes the truth's right there. You just have to look. His eyes darkened, hand twitching toward mine, then retreating. Yeah. The moment fractured, credits rolling to Arcade Fire's haunt. He crashed early, claiming fatigue, leaving me to pace the loft's perimeter, rain resuming its dirge. I texted Theo, exed Leo, the ghoster, for old time's sake, but his reply was curt, busy. Later. Deletion followed, the screen's glow mocking my isolation. Sunday brought mercy, a farmer's market jaunt to Ballard locks, salmon leaping upstream like futile hopes. We wandered stalls, sampling cheeses from apple farms, his arms slung casual over my shoulders to navigate crowds. "This normal," he murmured, breath warm on my ear. "Seattle normal. Crowds, caffeine, clouds." He laughed, but his arm stayed, a weight both anchor and chain. Lunch at Ray's boathouse overlooked Shilshol Bay, crab cakes flaky, view of sailboats bobbing. Conversation veered personal, his first crush, a cheerleader named Katie with freckles like constellations, mine, a theater kid in high school, stolen kisses backstage during Grease. "You never told Harper." Surprise colored his tone. Some stories stay buried. I speared a fry, avoiding his scrutiny. Over dessert, berry cobbler steaming, he leaned in. "Wish I had your guts. Owning it all. Guts. Or recklessness. The meal ended with a walk along the beach, pebbles crunching underfoot, waves lapping like whispers. He skipped stones, each plunk a punctuation, then turned. Jax! That night on the couch, I felt. Don't. The word escaped sharp, fear cloaking caution. We're good like this. His nod was slow, jaw tight. Yeah. Good. Back home, the loft felt charged, air heavy as pre-storm hush. Dinner was stir-fry, veggies from the market sizzling, but appetite fled under the weight of unsaid. He retreated to read, some Grisham thriller, while I wrote, fingers flying over keys, a scene of two men on a beach, hands almost touching, the sea indifferent. Night deepened, and a knock sounded, soft, hesitant. He stood in my doorway, shadows carving his face. Can't sleep. Mind company? I shifted, making space on the bed's edge. He sat, back to headboard, knees drawn up. Tell me a story. One of yours. Hesitation gripped me, but words spilled, a tale of a lighthouse keeper loving the sea's wild sun, forbidden waves crashing eternal. His breathing synced with the rhythm, eyes closing as I wove longing and loss. When I finished, silence wrapped us, his head tipping to my shoulder. Thanks, he whispered. Needed that. He left then, door whispering shut, but the imprint remained, his warmth, his trust. Sleep came eventual, dreams of lighthouses and hands entwined, waking to Monday's grind with a resolve cracking at the seams. Midweek, the call came, the startup offered him the job. Celebration meant drinks at Cannon, that whiskey den in Belltown, shelves lined like a library of firewater. Shots burned smooth, toasts clinking to new chapters. To crashing places, he said, eyes gleaming, and unexpected homes. Home. The word lodged, as we stumbled back, arms linked against the chill. In the elevator, he pinned me with a look, raw, searching. You're more than family, Jax. Pulse thundered. Careful. Lines blur easy. His thumb traced my jaw, featherlight, then withdrew. Maybe that's the point. The door opened, reality intruding. That night, alone, I shattered, tears hot on cheeks, the loft's echo chamber amplifying sobs. Desire warred with dread, the dynamite harper warned of ticking louder. What next? Surrender, or salvage the fragile peace? The new job swallowed Riley whole, his days stretching into evenings of strategy sessions and late-night code reviews at the Pioneer Square loft-turned-office. Mornings, he'd bolt with a protein bar and a rushed catch you later, leaving the kitchen island bare save for my half-empty cereal bowl. The loft echoed emptier without his hum, the absence a hollow ache that mirrored the freelance dry spell, gigs drying up like the rare sunny afternoons, forcing me to dip into savings for rent on this overpriced airy. I filled the void with routine, yoga flows on YouTube in the living room, the instructor's calm voice a balm against the city's undercurrent hum. Afternoons, I'd wander to Volunteer Park, conservatory's humid embrace housing orchids that bloom defiant in glass cages, much like the feelings I caged within. Evenings brought tentative check-ins, texts from him, buried in wireframes. Tight tonight. We'd reconvene over green curry from May Kai, steam rising like unspoken steam between us, conversation laced with his triumphs and my deflections. You're glowing, I said one night, as he recounted landing a client pitch, chopsticks poised over jasmine rice. This job suits you. He shrugged, but pride softened his edges. Suits the drive, yeah. But coming home, to this, that's the real win. Home. Again, the word, casual yet loaded, stirring the pot of confusion I'd been simmering. Since that elevator brush, we'd danced around the precipice, touches accidental, gazes lingering, nights ending with doors firmly shut. But the air crackled, charged with the static of proximity, and I wondered how long before the spark ignited. Friday fractured the fragile balance. He texted mid-afternoon, drinks with the team. Late. Don't wait up. The word stung irrationally, a jealousy I had no claim to, and I drowned it in a solo pint at the pub down the block, Elliot Bay's dark ale warming my veins as live folk strummed covers of Fleet Foxes. By 10, I was back, scrolling Grindry absent-mindedly, profiles blurring into sameness, abs and smirks that promise nothing lasting. He stumbled in past midnight, key scraping the lock, laughter bubbling as he kicked off boots. "Jax? You up?" "In the kitchen." I poured water, glass clinking, as he filled the doorway, hair tousled, cheeks flushed from bourbon or camaraderie. "Team solid. New guy's a riot, transplant from Austin, tell stories that'll curl your toes." He accepted the glass, fingers brushing mine deliberate, holding a beat. "Missed you, though." The admission hung, simple yet seismic. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed to steady. "Rough week." "Now." "Energizing." His eyes roamed my face, tracing paths that heated skin. "But this, us, is the anchor." "Us." The pronoun shifted, inclusive, intimate. "Heart-pounding," I murmured, careful with that word. "Why?" Challenge glinted, stepping closer, the island no barrier. "Scared." "Terrified." Honesty escaped, raw as the rain pattering outside. Silence stretched, then his hand cupped my cheek, thumb stroking stubble, gaze fierce. "Me too." Lips met then, tentative at first, a question posed in pressure. His tasted of whiskey and want, mouth opening under mine with a groan that vibrated bone deep. Hands roamed, mine fisting his shirt, he's tangling in my hair, backing me against brick, cool against heat. The kiss deepened, tongues exploring like uncharted coasts, breaths ragged as we broke for air. Riley, protest died as he kissed my neck, teeth grazing pulse. "Don't stop me." Plea wrapped in command, pulling me toward the couch. We tumbled there, clothes shedding in frantic pulls, his shirt overhead, revealing planes of muscle honed by gym rituals, my tee discarded, his palms mapping ribs and scars from a childhood bike wreck. Skin on skin ignited, friction building as mouths claimed, collarbone, nipple, the dip of hip. He was everywhere, hands sure yet trembling, whispers of fuck, Jax the mingling with gasps. Climax crashed mutual, bodies arching in sync, release a wave that left us wrecked, tangled in sheets we'd dragged from the armchair. After, silence blanketed, his head on my chest, fingers tracing lazy circles on my thigh. That wasn't planned. Best surprises aren't. I kissed his temple, salt tang of sweat. Doubt flickered in dawn's light, as we stirred to coffee brewing auto. He dressed slow, tie askew, avoiding mirrors. "Harper. I need to tell her. End it proper." Guilt twisted, but I nodded. "Yeah. Deserve that." He left for work, kiss lingering at the door, soft, promising. Alone, euphoria warred with dread, I texted Harper, "Call me when free." Important. Work evaded me, words fracturing on screen, until her ring cut through. "Jax? Everything okay?" Deep breath. Riley staying longer. And things changed. Between us. Pause, then intake sharp. "What do you mean, changed?" I confessed, halting, the kiss, the night, the tangle of emotions. Her silence stretched oceanic, then shattered. "You're my brother. He's my husband. This. It's betrayal." "Harp. No. Fix this. Or lose us both." Click. Dead air. Grief crashed, tears hot as I curled on the couch, scent of him still clinging. When Riley returned, take-out bag swinging, his grin faded at my face. "What happened?" Told her. Sobs broke free, and he pulled me close, rocking like a child. "We'll figure it." Murmurs against hair, but his voice wavered, cracks showing. That night, we made love slower, exploring, not conquering, his body a landscape of discovery, moans mapping vulnerabilities. Whispered admissions followed, his curiosities buried young, experiments in dorms dismissed as phases, my yearnings for normalcy, straight passing facades. Dawn found us entwined, world outside forgotten. Monday brought reality's bite. his teen drinks turned tense, co-worker from the texts, now promoted, toasts laced with old flirtations. He confessed over dinner, eyes downcast. She cornered me. Said she misses us. The before. Jealousy flared, irrational. And? Nothing. But it stirred shit up. His hand found mine. This, us, it's real. Right. Real as rain. Kiss sealed it, but doubt seeded. Midweek, Harper arrived, keys in hand, face thunder. We talk. Now. Riley paled, but nodded, ushering her to the guest room. I paced the living room, eavesdropping fragments, accusations flying, sobs punctuating pleas. Hours later, she emerged, eye swollen, hugging me fierce. I filed. It's done. Relief mingled with sorrow as she left, taillights fading into drizzle. Riley collapsed beside me, head in lap. Free. But it hurts. Healing starts somewhere. Fingers carded hair, soothing. We clung then, making plans, weekend getaway to the San Juans, ferry rides, and cabins by sea. Hope bloomed fragile, but the job's demands pulled him away, late nights blurring into exhaustion. One evening, I waited with wine, but he arrived hollow-eyed, cologne sharp with another's trace. Team building. Strippers, bullshit. Dismissive, but evasion rang. Trust frayed, questions unspoken. Sex that night was urgent, reclaiming, but morning brought distance, his shower longer, my coffee colder. By week's end, the coworker texted him, visible on the counter, missed you tonight. Come over? Deletion followed, but damage bloomed. You saw. Guilt etched his face. Yeah. Heart splintered. Who is she? Was. Nothing now. Plea in eyes, but lies lingered. Fights erupted, words sharp as kitchen knives. Can't do this if you're half in, I hurled, door slamming as I stormed to the balcony, city sprawl indifferent. He followed, arms encircling from behind. I'm in. All in. Scared shitless, but in. Forgiveness came tentative, make-up sex tender under string lights. But the seed of betrayal germinated, roots twisting deeper. Autumn deepened, leaves in Discovery Park turning crimson like wounds scabbing over. The loft adapted to our new normal, Riley's clothes mingling with mine in the hamper, his razor beside my electric one, shared playlists on Spotify shuffling from his country twang to my indie electronica. Mornings, we'd linger in bed, coffee cooling on the nightstand as bodies intertwined lazy, explorations turning fervent under sheets tangled like promises. Love this, he'd murmur against my skin, lips tracing collarbones, hands mapping hips with reverence that mended fractures. But love's word hovered unuttered, a spectre in the spaces between. His job thrived, promotions whispered, clients singing praises, but success pulled him into orbits I couldn't breach, networking mixers at the strangers' offices, happy hours at Zeitgeist where tech bros swapped war stories over flat whites. I'd wait, novel open on lap, some Ta-Nehisi coats on Identity's forge, but arrival brought his distraction, cologne layered with bar smoke, stories edited for politeness. One crisp Saturday, we escaped to Orcas Island, the ferry slicing Salish sea under overcast skies, gulls wheeling like punctuation. The cabin rental perched on East Sound's edge, cedar siding weathered, stone fireplace crackling welcome. We unpacked with laughter, his duffel spilling flannels, mine books and journals. Hikes through Moran State Park followed, boots crunching leaf litter, his hand in mine swinging free under canopies dapple. At Turtleback Mountain summit, wind whipping hair, he pulled me close, back to chest. This, us, feels like breathing after holding it forever. Echoed my soul, and I turned, kissing him deep, salt of sea on lips. Don't let go. Afternoon kayaks on Cascade Lake, paddles dipping sink, laughter echoing off bluffs. Dinner at the inn, oysters briny, Dungeness crab sweet, wine loosening tongues. Back at the cabin, firelight danced shadows on walls as we made love on the rug, slow and sacred, his body arching under mine, gasps mingling with wood's pop. Whispers followed, dreams voiced, him launching a side hustle app for queer creators, me finishing that novel gathering dust. Together, he said, fingers laced. Build something real. Return to Seattle grounded us, fairies horn a reluctant farewell. Monday's grind resumed, but glow lingered, his texts mid-meeting, thinking of your mouth. Mine replying with heat, hurry home. Yet fissures wide and subtle. A forgotten anniversary, Harper's, their would-be fifth, hit him hard, bourbon bottle half empty when I found him on the balcony, city lights blurring through tears. Miss the what ifs, he confessed, voice raw. Not her. The idea. I held him, rocking against railing. Mourn it. Then move. He did, channeling ache into us, surprise tickets to a Rufus Wainwright concert at the Moor, his voice crooning ballads of broken hearts that mirrored ours. In the balcony seats, his head on my shoulder, hand squeezing thigh, I felt invincible. But invincibility cracked mid-month. The coworker, Lena, name finally confessed over late-night ramen, reached out again, email chain unearthed on his open laptop during a client call. Coffee? Catch up. No strings. Response, can't. Committed now. Relief washed, but questions festered. Confrontation came gentle, over breakfast frittata. Why keep contact? Professional. She's on a project thread. Defensiveness edged his tone, fork scraping plate. Threads cut easy. Doubt voiced, and he softened, pulling me onto his lap. Only you, Jax. Swear. Sex sealed truce, bodies affirming words, but unease lingered like fog off the sound. Freelance picked up a book cover gig for a debut queer memoir, illustrations of intertwined hands against urban grit. Deadlines loomed, nights blurring in front of my MacBook, Riley's massages easing knots in shoulders. Proud of you, he'd say, lips on nape, and creation flowed, stories within stories, men loving fierce against odds. Thanksgiving neared, family summons from Mom in Spokane, turkey and pie, the full spread. Bring Riley, she insisted over phone, tone bright but probing. Harper's coming solo. Keep it light. Light. Impossible with our secret humming. We drove east, Cascades blanketed white, his hand on my knee shifting gears. Arrival brought hugs, Mom's apple-scented embrace, Dad's gruff clap on back. Harper arrived last, eyes shadowed but smile steady, pulling me aside in the kitchen. Happy for you. Both. But careful, family's a minefield. Dinner unfolded tense, turkey carved precise, yams candid sweet, conversation skirting edges. Riley charmed, stories of island hikes drawing laughs, but under table, his foot hooked mine, anchor in storm. After pie, dishes clattering, Dad cornered him in the den, sports talk veering to that lifestyle stuff. Riley's reply, steady, Jax is family. Love who he loves. Simple. Pride swelled, and later, in the guest room's narrow bed, I showed it, kisses fervent, bodies quiet under quilt. My hero, whispered against ear. His job's holiday party loomed, black tie affair at the Museum of Flight. I tagged along, rented tux ill-fitting but his gaze appreciative, damn, you clean up lethal. Cocktails flowed, small talk with devs in cummerbunds, but Lena's arrival shifted air, red gown clinging, laugh tinkling as she air-kissed his cheek. Watching them, heads bent close over hors d'oeuvres, her hand on arm, I excused to the balcony, Boeing prototypes gleaming under spotlights. Jealousy gnawed, irrational vine. He found me there, coat draped shoulders. Hey. You okay? Peachy. Sarcasm dripped, and he sighed, pulling close. Nothing there. Ancient history. History repeats. Words sharp, and he recoiled. Trust me, Jax. Or what's this? Stalemate broken by toasts, but chill lingered. Drive home silent, rain sheeting windshield. At the loft, argument erupted, voices rising over unpacked luggage. You're paranoid, he accused, pacing bricks. You're blind. Counter, and door slammed, him to guest room, me to bed alone. Reconciliation dawn, coffee truce, apologies murmured over eggs. Scared of losing this, I admitted, tears pricking. Me too. Hug fierce, makeup slow and affirming. December deepened, holidays twinkling strings on Broadway. We trimmed a tree, Charlie Brown sparse, ornaments from thrift hauls, his laughter as tinsel tangled fingers. Gifts exchanged early, leather journal from him, inscribed for your truths, cufflinks from me, engraved with a wave. Christmas Eve, family dinner redux, but lighter, Harper's toasted new beginnings, eyes meeting mine warm. Night ended at the loft, fire crackling, portable, electric, cocoa spiked with rum. Curled on rug, his story spilled, youthful confusion, a college hookup with a teammate, buried deep. Why hide? Fear. Labels stick. Vulnerability raw, and I kissed eyelids. No labels here. Just us. New Year's approached, countdown at the Space Needles bash on TV, but we opted intimate, fireworks from the balcony, champagne bubbling. As ball dropped, kiss sealed vows unspoken, this year, all in. But betrayal brewed unseen. Lena's promotion overlapped his project, mandatory for dinners stretching late. One January Eve, he returned disheveled, lipstick faint on collar, excuse of spilled mellow. Scent betrayed, her perfume, jasmine sharp. Confrontation exploded, liar. It's nothing. Stress release. Admission gutted, her apartment, one night, closure. Betrayal's blade twisted deep. Get out. He packed silent, duffel zipping like finality, door clicking shut on our fragile world. Alone, sobs racked, loft cavernous, heart shattered on concrete. January's grip tightened, frost-etching windows like veins of ice, mirroring the freeze in my chest. The loft, once alive with Riley's footfalls and laughter's echo, devolved to mausoleum, dishes piled in sink, bed unmade, his forgotten flannel draped over chair like a ghost's shroud. Sleep evaded, night spent scrolling his socials, muted, but temptation gnawed, photos of team hikes in the Issaquah Alps, his grin forced, Lena's arm casual in frames. Freelance saved me, deadlines a lifeline, revisions for the memoir, words forging armor. Betrayal's not the end, I typed in margins, advice for the author or myself. Mornings, runs along Lake Union, breath fogging air, docks creaking under weight of unanswered whys. Why her? Why now? Crisis churned, therapy session with Dr. Ellis in Belltown spilling guts, he was straight. Then mine. Then. Not. Labels lie, she said, glasses perched, voice steady as tide. Feel the grief. Then rebuild. Grief came tidal, sobs in shower, steam blurring tiles, walks to Kerry Park where skyline mocked with postcard perfection, couples entwined on benches. Harper called daily, voice lifeline, come to Portland. Studio couch awaits. But roots held, Seattle's rain a baptism I craved. Riley's texts pierced, miss you. Can we talk? Deleted unread, then answered curt, space. Work emails unavoidable, shared client threads, his inputs clipped, professional veneer cracking in typos. Mid-month, collapse hit, flu or heartbreak, fever raging, chills racking. Curled fetal under duvet, phone ignored till Harper arrived, key copied in mercy. Idiot, she chided, broth simmering, forehead cool with cloth. Can't lose you too. Nights blurred in her vigil, stories swapped, her divorce papers signed, fresh start in a Pearl District walk up. He loved you, Jax. Wrong way, wrong time. Timing's thief. Whisper, and she nodded, hand squeezing. Recovery slow, strength returning in soup spoons and sunlight slants. By Valentine's, irony bitter, I ventured out, solo date with self at Carnley's, perch above the city, steak rare and wine velvet. Toasted to mending, glass chiming empty. Spring teased early, crocuses pushing through mulch in Cal Anderson, mirroring my thaw. Novel progressed, chapters emailing to beta readers, queer friends from writing groups at Hugo House, feedback glowing, raw. Real. Riley faded to ache, not agony, his flannel washed, folded away. Then, collision, farmer's market on a drizzly Saturday, stalls brimming asparagus and rhubarb. I turned from a cheese wheel, basket heavy, and there he was, stall away, leaner on arm, laugh shared over berries. Heart seized, but I held ground, nodding cool as he approached, her trailing curious. Jax. Voice rough, eyes shadowed. You look good. Likewise. Lie, he's gaunt, stubble unkempt. Enjoying the hall. Lena shifted, hand possessive on elbow. We should go. He hesitated, gaze pleading. Coffee? Later. Now's not. Turn sharp, market's bustle swallowing retreat. Home, purge followed, his mug shattered in sink, shards glittering like tears. Call to Theo, ex's voice tentative, drinks. Meet at Linda's, dive bars neon haze, stories tumbling over whiskies. His hand on mine tentative, but spark absent, comfort, not fire. Friends, we agreed, parting with hug. Healing's path wound crooked, therapy deepening, journal pages filling with rage poems, runs lengthening to Ravenna's green belts. Harper visited, weekend of Powell's browses and food carts, her sketchpad capturing my profile, resilient, titled. April bloomed riot, azaleas exploding in the arboretum. Novel queried, agent bites landing, voice sings. Let's shop. Elation crested, champagne solo on balcony, city pulsing below. Riley resurfaced May, email formal, congrats on the book buzz. Lena and I, over. Messed up bad. Attachment, therapy referral, his words, working on me. Deserve your peace. Reply simple, same. Take care. Summer simmered in, solstice bonfires on Alki Beach, friends gathering, queer circle expanding, potlucks with rainbow salads and drag trivia. Dates dotted calendar, barista with tattoos like maps, lawyer with laugh like bells. None stuck, but flutters returned, wings testing air. Crisis peaked at launch party, novel out, reading at Elliott Bay, crowd warm with applause. Spotlight hot, voice steady reading a passage on love's betrayal, words cathartic. Post-event, signing books, he appeared, Riley, suit rumpled, eyes earnest. Proud, he said, book clutched. Bought 3. For the lies I told. End. Why now? Missed the man who saw me. Hole me. Step closer, voice low. Can we try? Slow? Temptation tugged, old gravity. But growth anchored, not yet. Healing first. Nod slow, pain flickering. Fair. Door open? Cracked. Smile small, and he left, silhouette fading into Broadway's throng. Autumn circled back, leaves gold, therapy tapering to monthly. Novel sales hummed, tour dates penciled, San Francisco, New York, echoes of past chases. Harper's wedding invite arrived, her to a barista named Miles, Vermont elopement. RSVP yes, heartful. One rainy eve, balcony vigil, whiskey neat, reflection clear, betrayal scar, but not defining. Love waited, patient as tide, mine to claim, on terms forged in fire. Riley's final text, saw your reading clip. Beautiful. Always were. Unsent reply, you too. Be well. Screen dark, rain soft, future unfolding like unwritten page. October's chill seeped through cracks, pumpkins grinning from stoops in Capitol Hill, harvest moon swelling over the sound like overripe promises. The loft transformed, fresh paint on bricks, a desk from West Elm anchoring the corner, stacks of advance copies for the next book teetering beside. Success's rhythm steadied me, readings in Portland's Powell's, Q&As at La Skylight, fans queuing with stories that echoed mine, loves lost in labels, found in fragments. Your words healed, they'd say, and I'd nod, knowing the mending was mutual, ink a salve on shared wounds. Harper's wedding anchored the month, ferry to Anna Cortez, then drive to Vermont's green folds, foliage aflame in reds and golds. Miles waited at the inn, lanky with a beard like autumn bracken, eyes kind as he hugged me tight. Heard the tales. Glad you're here. Ceremony under maples, vows simple, in chaos, we choose calm. Rings exchanged, harpers glow radiant, my toast tear-laced, to sisters who bridge storms. Reception in a barn, fairy lights twinkling, fiddle tunes pulling feet to floor. I danced with Miles, then strangers, laughter loosening knots. Harper pulled me aside at dusk, bouquet heavy. Proud, little bro. You've built empires from ashes. Learning, I replied, clinking cider mugs. You too. Return to Seattle brought reflections tide. Therapy ended, Dr. Ellis's parting, you've authored your art, live it. Journal shifted to prompts, not pain, visions of cabins in the San Juans, collaborations with artists on graphic novels of queer Pacific Northwest lore. Riley crossed paths once more, at a lit fest in Fremont, his booth for a startup app, outlines, tool for marginalized makers to map narratives. Stalls hummed, craft brews flowing, his smile genuine as we chatted neutral, books acclaim, his ventures seed funding. Therapy's grind, he shared, voice even. Unpacked the straight jacket. Fluid now. Dating. Exploratively. Envy absent, curiosity kind. Good. Deserve that. You too. Gaze warm, no plea. Saw Theo at a thing. Happy? Content. Truth, the barista date evolving to weekends in Ballard, kayaks and kisses tentative. Parting handshake lingered, but boundaries held, colleagues in creation's vast sea. Home, I texted Theo, dinner? Your place. Reply swift, bring wine. And that smile. November's grey softened to holiday hush, Thanksgiving with friends this year, potluck at a collective house in Georgetown, tables groaning under turducken and queer kin's kin. Story-circled fire pit, flames licking night, vulnerabilities shared like chestnuts, betrayals mended, loves rekindled. I spoke of Riley, not names, but the forge, broke me open. Grateful now. Nods rippled, hands clasped. Dawn's walk home, Theo's arm linked, city stirring awake. Your turn, he teased. Lead. Winter solstice neared, shortest day longest shadow. I planned solo, tree from a lot on Aurora, ornaments hand-painted with waves and eyes. String lights draped, record spinning Jan Stevens carols, voice haunting as ghosts. Reflection came in quiet, journey's map, hook of that rainy night, pull of forbidden touch, shatter of trust, rebuild from shards. Crisis's echo lingered, but wisdom bloomed, human hearts wander, but homes chosen, not chased. Forgiveness flowed, not absolution, but release, for him, for the boy who'd craved straight lines in crooked loves. New Year's Eve, Theo's apartment overlooking Queen Anne, skyline bursting in pyrotechnics. We kissed at midnight, soft and sure, his hand in hair grounding. To us, he whispered. To stories unfolding. Year turned, resolutions unwritten. Novel 2 brewed, outline of brothers-in-law unbound, love's layered like Seattle's fog, mysterious, revealing. Agent called, film interest. Option talk. Elation crested, but grounded in grace. Call to Riley, impulse pure, congrats on Outline's launch. Beers? Platonic. Meet at Tatabella, Neapolitan pies steaming, talk flowing free, ventures, vulnerabilities, know what IFS. Grew from us, he said, eyes clear. The mess made better. Same. Toast with Peroni, friendship forged anew, platonic pure. Spring whispered early again, cherry blossoms dusting U District streets pink. Theo and I deepened, trips to Olympic rainforests, hands held on trails, nights tangled in his Fremont bungalow. Labels loose, partners, explorers, companions in the quiet. One May dawn, balcony perch, coffee steaming, city awakening below. Journal open, pen scratching, epilogue to a life mid-sentence, love's layered, losses lessons. Betrayal scar faded to silver, reminder of resilience. Humanity's core, we fracture, we fuse, betray, we bind anew. In America's mosaic, rain-slick streets, diverse dreams, love defies scripts, blooming wild as blackberries overtaking fences. I closed the book, sun cresting Olympics, light gilding all. Ready for whatever page next.